What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Friday Night Knicks podcast. I got Luca right here, myself, and we got Donald right here. So, Donald, it's been an interesting few couple of days in the sports world. Everybody's focusing on the quarterbacks, with the Jets situation, NFL free agency, all the other stuff. But what's not being kind of taken into account, or at least talked about, the Knicks have been playing well lately. They've came off a 2-game winning streak to end the West Coast trip. They beat the Lakers in a very tight game, and they also beat the Portland Trailblazers coming back from 16 down. So it's been fun for the Knicks. Also another thing to take into account, we are 11 games away from the end of the season. This season has kind of blown by. In some parts, it hasn't. We might be seeing the return of Jalen Brunson tomorrow. So, Donald, first thoughts, my man.
First thoughts are please let Jalen Brunson be okay.
Yes.
But I am willing to give it another couple games if it meant that he'd be fully healthy for the playoffs, which is the most important thing. But we're looking pretty good for the top six. The Nets lost the other day. We're still got, we've still got the fifth seed in the bag at the moment, and I think that they can hold on to it. I think it was really important that they pulled away those 2 games in the West Coast trip. It was a very difficult trip. You look at it, you got Portland with Dame Dollar, you got the Lakers, Davis, you got the Clips,
Kings
playing at a very high level, and you've got the Kings who've been just wonderful all year long. So to come away with it with 2 games out of that is pretty good going without your best player. And without a doubt, I think watching that entire West Coast trip, you could see how much we desperately needed Jalen Brunson. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Like, they desperately need him. But what also showed is how great we are with the second unit, especially in transition. Josh Hart is the Duracell bunny, man. And it's just, this team is elite in transition with the second unit, getting rebounds, outlet passes, getting the ball down the court quickly. You can just see how different it is from the slow, very measured tempo in the first unit, very deliberate tempo. Second unit is a lot more action-packed, a lot more watchable and enjoyable. And I mean, Josh Hart has a lot to do with it, man. But we get Jalen Brunson back, and then we'll get some scoring in the first unit, and also some spacing, some court spacing, because
yes,
he runs the offense clearly, and creation off the dribble, all of which we've kind of lacked of late. But listen, we kind of, the way that we won the Portland game was all about the second unit, just destroying them, as I mentioned, in transition. And then the Lakers game was fairly comfortable, I thought.
Yeah, for the most part, the Knicks were in control of that game. Obviously, we'll recap the game bunch by bunch, but you said it, Donald. It was a difficult West Coast trip. We first started off with the Kings game. We're not going to do a whole recap of the West Coast trip. We're going to mainly focus on the Lakers and the Blazers because they were obviously of recent. But from the first game, we nearly came back against the Kings. Jalen Brunson's out for the second half. It's like we were almost about to pull it together, and we just couldn't. The Kings kept hitting shots. The Clipper game, there was that whole controversy with the whole Julius Randle getting into it with a coach with a video tablet again.
Mm-hmm.
I was slightly worried about that. I said, you know what? I wasn't worried. I'm like, here's what's going to happen. I just hope that Randle learns from this, because I know he's been better this year with his anger, his emotions, all of that, his temper. So I'm like, you know what? I'm worried. I'm a little worried, but you know what? I think he'll bounce back from this. And then we get the Lakers game. The Knicks have, in this game, reached the plateau of 40 wins, which we did not do last year. So to start off, it was basically a bit of a shootout. Yeah, D'Angelo Russell going off. Julius Randle and R.J. Barrett were mixing up, but the second unit also played a big role. Miles McBride, Isaiah Hartenstein, and Hart led the team with plus 15, plus 19, and plus 13, respectively, in the box score. So, as Donald said, second half was big. Isaiah Hartenstein had 11 rebounds. Julius Randle 30 points. Obi Toppin 9 points. He's been rising of late, but
Been
I
good.
think that especially with Josh Hart.
How about
And
Deuce McBride?
Deuce McBride was also very key in the Laker game. 8 points, 2-4 from 3. Again, the entire bench unit. Tibbs is going with 9 guys. This is not a 10-man unit. Sometimes that is a little bit towards chagrin because we don't want these guys getting burnt out before the playoffs. Isaiah Hartenstein, 24 minutes. Josh Hart, 32 minutes. That's nearly starter level minutes. And these guys are putting up a positive net rating, positive rebounds. They're moving the ball. They're quick with their pace, and their game is working. And that's what's helping us with these victories.
How are we, MH? Shout out, man. Thanks for joining the chat.
Deuce, 18 to 50 points. Well, when Deuce 100%. When Deuce puts up 18, it almost feels like 50 because we know Deuce McBride is not the most favorable when it comes to offense. That's my biggest critique of him is that he doesn't show a lot on offense. But you know what? The last 2 games against the Lakers and the Blazers, he's shown a lot on offense. We know he's
phenomenal against the Blazers. Against the Blazers.
He was phenomenal. We were very sturdy. He was very sturdy defensively, and that's what we know him by. But Donald, any takeaways from this Lakers game?
Yeah, it was just basically as you say, man. I thought the second unit ran the show. Julius Randle was held up pretty good. I thought we needed a big game from Randle. But yeah, it was fine, man. It was kind of a slow start, but once again the bench came through.
Yeah. RJ Barrett also put up 30 points. Obviously, the efficiency isn't so great. Going 1 for 8 from 3 is not what you want. But also, let me see something. My bad. That was something going on in the background. Anyways, RJ Barrett, not efficient from the field, but he puts up 30 points along with Julius Randle. 30 points on 12-27. So you have that. And the one thing that you brought up, Donald, is like sometimes I mentioned this is a part of the Portland game as well to start. The offense doesn't look as smooth when the game starts. It takes a bit for the offense to get into rhythm.
It does, yeah, I think so. But as I say, I'm very excited about what quickly McBride, Isaiah Hartenstein, and Josh Hart provided. Man, that was my major takeaway from the entire West Coast trip through the ups and downs. I thought Isaiah Hartenstein played phenomenal. He outplayed Mitch.
That's true.
For the last 3 games on the trip, he worked extremely hard. Deuce McBride really stepped up the last 2 games. He was awesome. Josh Hart is, as I say, is just. Can we put to rest now this whole Cam Reddish, Josh Hart thing?
Oh my God!
Josh Hart handed Cam Reddish his ass, right? He handed him his ass, and not just him. The Knicks in general handed him his ass. I mean, he did nothing, absolutely nothing. Now that is no disrespect to Cam Reddish. I liked him as a player, but there isn't a comparison between him and Josh Hart. Hart is a better player. It is now cemented. You can put it in stone. Moses can read it from the top of a hill. It is absolute fact. He is a better player than Cam Reddish. We traded for a better player who's more impactful, a better defender, definitely more consistent on offense. His all-round game and his attitude is completely different. His attitude has brought the whole thing together. He was the missing piece because he brings it every single night. What does he say? I'm a dog, right? He brings that dog mentality, man. That's what I've noticed. Cam Reddish was kind of like, but we got a dog now in the house, and you can see because we win almost every single game that he plays, and there's a reason for that. So I'm very much head of the Heart Hive.
Oh, I am too.
And it's awesome to watch. We got a new guy in the chat, and Mario 45.
Let's beat the Nuggets.
Yeah.
And then he says, I don't expect the Nuggets to start their starters only because they clinched playoffs. Maybe they'll do it in some spurts. Obviously, I saw the injury report. There's two not major key players going to be probably out for tomorrow. But in regards to, we're going to get into the Blazer game now. I took Cam Reddish's side among this whole Tom Thibodeau stuff. I was like, you know what? But this was before we got Josh Hart, obviously, because Cam Reddish was a part of the trade. And I was like, you know what? I wasn't a fan. It was almost personal what beef Tom Thibodeau had with Cam Reddish. But you know what, Donald? I'll be honest. I let that shit go. I said, you know what? We just got Josh Hart. Let's move on. I'm not a fanboy like some of the Knicks fans. Like, there's a certain crowd who are very homerish. Like most fan base have their homer crowds. But when people are saying, Cam Reddish is more impactful than Quentin Grimes, Cam Reddish is this, he's better than this, I'm like, I don't care. We have Josh Hart. Josh Hart has been key to our winning. What has Cam Reddish done? He might be averaging well in the stats over there in Portland, but is he helping them winning games? As far as I know, Donald, they are the same without. They are literally the same with and without Cam Reddish. They are the same. They are still trying to fight from the outside to the inside of that play-in tournament. They might
actually,
fall
to
out.
be honest, if you look at it, they've actually been kind of almost tanking without meaning to. Lillard's been phenomenal. He's dropping 50, 60, 70 question. At a drop of a hat. But his teammates aren't stepping up.
No.
And I thought that they took the L at the with the Cam Reddish deal. I didn't think it was going to be that great for them. He's been fine for them, but I just don't think he's a difference maker.
He doesn't impact winning. And there were fans complaining about their, obviously talking about the Reddish situation. We traded a first to get Reddish, and then we traded a first to get rid of Reddish, and all this different stuff about the first-round pick. I'm like, that's not a big deal because we have so many first-round picks. So it wasn't a big deal for me, this Cam Reddish thing. He didn't show up, so I don't care. I'm not bragging that he didn't show up. I am not bragging that he should have showed up. I don't care. I am a Knicks fan. I root for my team. Donald's a Knicks fan. You root for your team, which is the Knicks. We don't care about individual. I mean, we obviously care about individual players, but we're fans. But we analyze this very logically. We're not stans. We're not homers. We're not all this stuff.
Well, that's right. I mean, look at the best example is the fact that I was campaigning for Donovan Mitchell all offseason.
Of course.
As soon as the trade went down, we didn't get him. I was upset for a couple of weeks. And yeah, I was a little upset still at the start of the year. But basically, once we kind of start getting into a rhythm, I haven't even thought about Donovan Mitchell. I haven't even looked at his stats or his box score. I appreciate him as a player. I love him as a player. I really hope that maybe sometime down the line he frees himself up and comes here. But quite honestly, I haven't spent a second thinking about it because I love watching Jalen Brunson. And maybe we wouldn't be seeing the kind of Jalen Brunson we've been seeing this year if we had Donovan Mitchell taking the majority of the handles. And you wouldn't be seeing this historic year from Julius Randle. So, you know what? Every cloud has a silver lining. And we've got two guys that have really developed this year. Got Josh Hart coming in. It's all worked out very, very well, actually, for the Knicks. I'm extremely proud of the team. I'm proud of the coaching job that Tom Thibodeau's done, considering where we were, I would say, 6 weeks ago. It's been night and day. Played very, very well. Played great defense. Defense is fun to watch. And we're playing at a better tempo. And, a good, decent shot selection as well.
Oh, it's been fine. It's been fine. Even like way before the All-Star break, we were in a bad place, but we are 11 games over 500, standing at 41-30 right now. Obviously, 71 games into the season. I'm trying to find. Here we go. Knicks. This is to prove the whole Cam Reddish thing. Without Cam Reddish, we've been fine. The Knicks since December 4th, 31-17. 4th in offensive rating, 7th in defensive rating, 3rd in net rating, 7th in defensive rebound percentage. But since Josh Hart's first game on the 11th of February, 11-3, which is a 64.4 win pace. 3rd in offensive rating, 8th in defensive rating, 1st in net rating, and 4th in defensive rebound percentage. Those are the stats that impact winning. That's why I don't give a damn about this whole Cam Reddish thing. I've moved on. And for some reason now, people are bringing up on Twitter. Now this is another obscure crowd of Knicks Twitter. Knicks fans are bringing up Alonzo Trier in comparison to Emmanuel Quickley's rookie season. I'm like, what are we doing here? Why are we bringing up these players when we're winning?
For instance, who was it that mentioned that? I haven't come across this particular.
I think it was like Jay from Florida saying something like, Emmanuel Quickley and Alonzo Trier, the similar rookie stats. But those are, again, that you can't look off stats. This is what I always say. You have to look at context. Emmanuel Quickley was helping a team win in 2020. Alonzo Trier was the head honcho of a team that won 17 fucking games. So who cares? I literally do not care about these people when they bring up Alonzo Triers and Cam Reddishes, the most obscure players of all time, wondering why they don't have roster spots on the Knicks or like whatever. I just don't care. My team is winning. We are the 5th seed, which I wouldn't have imagined before the season.
No, it's been awesome, man.
It's been a fun and wild ride. And so we moved to the Blazer game, another game that started out rough. I'd say very rough for the first couple of minutes because it took for the Knicks a while to get the first basket. The first 5 shots, I was like, oh my God, this offense is Julius Randle iso ball. There's no point guard that's taking control, and then Josh Hart comes in. Yeah. And he starts to take control of the offense. And it was up from there. RJ Barrett had a solid game. I'm not saying he had a great game. He's been playing solid over the past 2 games. And Deuce McBride, 18 career high, 18 points for Deuce McBride. The 3-pointer was 3 points were going off. That whole bench, as Donald mentioned, plus net rating again. Josh Hart,
18.
Yep, 18 points, 4 or 5 from 3, 2 blocks, a steal.
Wow.
Josh Hart, 16 points, 6 of 13 from the field, 37 minutes. 37 minutes for Josh Hart. Isaiah Hartenstein, plus 20. Again, he's one of those guys, Donald, like you read the stats, he didn't put up how many points today. Well, he put up 11 rebounds. This is a guy you watch on the court and you visually evaluate him. You don't evaluate Hartenstein by the stats. Obi Toppin, 11 points. And to me, the key cogs of this victory in the second half were McBride, Toppin, Barrett a little bit, and that part of that second unit. Because we've always said that you can make the argument whether RJ Barrett should start or not, whatever, but he thrives better with that second unit.
I think so. Although I would say that I'm thinking Josh Hart would be really good as a starter.
That's true. But another thing to counter that is RJ's where he really has success is the transition game. And when
what is up, Jets? Best. Thanks for joining, my guy.
What's going on, brother? And the thing is about RJ Barrett is he's really, really successful in transition. The Knicks are very slow paced in their first team offense. Yes, happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patty's Day. Have fun, guys.
Have fun, my man. But anyways, going back to RJ Barrett, you talked about it, Donald. The first team offense, obviously the starters are very slow paced. Not a lot of ball movement. It's very grindy, although we are top 5 in offensive rating. You usually don't get that with a grinded out offense, but obviously we're better than 2 years before. But regardless, RJ Barrett's success comes from the transition game where he can get those open layups, where he can get those open shots, building off the momentum. So it's not a bad thing to say that, RJ deserves more minutes with the bench unit. What's going on? Booyah.
Well, booyah. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Have a great night. Whatever
good
you're doing.
For Guinness and Hefe pints. I don't drink the Guinness. I know my mom's a big Guinness fan. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Everyone's going to be out partying right now.
And shout outs to all the chat on this St. Patrick's Day. Happy Friday, everyone. I know there's a lot of buzz going around NFL free agency and college basketball. Glad you're here watching us talk about the Knicks and their success. But as I wanted to finish off, RJ Barrett's really good with the second unit, and the more time he gets with the second unit, the better he's like. I'm not gonna say the better he's gonna get, but he's gonna play a lot better with the second unit, and he's gonna really contribute.
That's why I like him off the bench. I think RJ Barrett is a future 6th man. quite honestly, because he's more comfortable in the second unit. That's where he's getting the majority of his touches and his points, leading the second unit with quickly. Uh, I think that it suits him better because instead of being like the third wheel
Of
of
course.
a very ball dominant offense in the first unit, he looks very lost doing that. And he certainly looks lost defensively. But the second unit, he seems to play a lot better when he's asked to lead that. You can see his efficiency is better. I think that he gets overly happy to settle for 3-point shots in the first unit. In the second unit, it looks like he's more willing to drive because the spacing's there's a bit more space for him on the
Yeah,
floor because he's handling the ball. So it's something to look into in the future.
of course.
I would seriously consider Josh Hart leading the first unit because I don't want to keep getting in these situations where we're having to claw back massive deficits and then Josh Hart clawing them back. Because to be honest, that was kind of the story of a lot of our West Coast trip, where we'd go into these awful deficits without Jalen Brunson, of course, but the first unit struggling. Josh Hart and quickly come in, play like frickin' superheroes,
Yes.
and then pull the game back. And that's kind of it's not a winning long term strategy though. Like you need a little bit more balance in the first unit, a little bit more defense, and more production. So uh, I just don't want to be overly reliant on Julius Randle
Of course.
having an efficient night every single night. You probably want a little bit more variation in the first unit. So I would seriously consider starting Josh Hart, not too far down the line.
What you're describing, Donald, honestly, I'm drawing comparisons to 2 years ago when we used Derrick Rose for a lot of minutes because Alfred Payton was so bad. And I think, from what
Good
you're
point.
saying, it seems like you may want Josh Hart to start in the playoffs because RJ could be that energizer bunny off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you said he thrives with the second unit, which I completely agree with. So you don't want this. You don't want to overtire Josh Hart, but you want to make sure your starting unit's intact. And you know what? Honestly, Josh Hart could improve the pace of the starting unit because we were very slow. We're one of the last teams in pace. We're grinded. But I think Josh Hart is also a leader where he's going to be like, you know what, let's move the ball around. Let's spread it around. Let's make sure Quentin Grimes gets his 10, 12 shots a game. Well, let's make sure all these different things. And we're going to play with a lot of hustle, a lot of pace in that first unit if he joins. And I
But to
wouldn't
play
mind
devil's advocate, in fairness, to play devil's advocate, there is that saying: if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
that's true.
And considering our bench is for me the best in the league, the most productive in the league, uh, it would be hard to
Break it up.
break that up, considering what he means to that second unit. As I say, teams don't know how to handle the fact that we're so slow in the first unit and then absolutely lightning quick in the second unit. And I think that's how we dominate games.
I completely agree. It's a complete change of pace. And another thing that's kind of a problem if you put Josh Hart on the bench, not well, take him off the bench and make him starter is like your young guys are not going to get as much what's the exposure with RJ Barrett because RJ Barrett's going to want to thrive and his passing hasn't been the best this year. That's just the true fact. You named it you showed with the stats and the overall stuff a couple of weeks ago and the percentiles, like he was one of the worst percentiles in passing. So you want somebody, you want a veteran on the bench to help these guys and get their shots and put them in positions to succeed. And let me ask you this, Donald, for the future playoffs, do you think that Tibbs should allow a 10th man? And I think I'm going to say yes. And who would it be in your opinion? Would it be situational where if we need defense, we're going to put in Deuce and offense, Evan Fournier?
I think it'll be situational, but I wouldn't be adverse to it if we can get Deuce to provide more consistent offensive minutes. then I would be willing to add a few more minutes in there to get Deuce involved. Mike Breen always says that if you give Deuce McBride like a solid 30 minutes, he'd be one of the best defensive players in the entire league.
Oh, I agree. I heard him say that.
So he said that multiple times now. So it's just really a case of getting his offensive game more consistent, and that's going to be a challenge. But if you get more nights like he provided, like he did against Portland, then the sky's the limit here with this guy because he's got the defense locked down. Just he needs a consistent 3-point shot.
Consistent shot, consistent 3-point shot, driving to the rack. It's just the overall aggression on offense. So we've covered majority of the Portland game. After the game, I know this player apologized on social media, but Mitchell Robinson took to social media to talk about his frustrations with the lack of offensive role. I'm going to go over this real quick because he obviously apologized.
Well, let's read out the quote. Have you got the quote in front of you?
Are you talking about what he apologized, or are you talking about the quote he put on social media?
The original quote, and then we'll talk about the apology to be fair to him too.
Let me see. I'm going to try to find it on Twitter. But it was on Snapchat, I believe. Let's see. Tired as fuck of just being out there for cardio, fam. Like I want to play basketball to really just wasting my time and energy with an SMH emoji. And then he says in the next slide, disappearing for a while. That was the first post. And then he made a whole thing on Instagram, I think. He apologized and he says, "See, most of y'all want to say I'm being childish or petty or whatever, but let me put this in the air. Now, I can be selfish, shoot 80 shots and not play defense, but that's not me. Though I give my body for this shit. Y'all say I'm injury prone. All my injuries came from another play on the defensive side. Let me not play defense like I know I can and not play hard. I'll never hurt again, but I love this shit too much to not risk getting hurt. I do think about getting injured or whatever. I just jump in the fire and whatever happens, fuck it. And play ball if we being real about it. So despite the fact most of y'all need to play better, y'all say need to play better. I play the way they want me to been doing for 5 years now. Yo, it's come real as fuck for the past few weeks. I've been going through the perfect storm, as I call it, after the game against Portland. I just snapped like I got a baby on the way. I got family issues. I just got to figure a way to get back under control when my mind was free. I was good after I had 3 bad games. I just started thinking about all the stuff I had going on and kept it going. I'll figure it out, though. I'll define my bad. Should have handled it differently and didn't want to know bad blood. Just got to find myself.
Okay. You start. What are your thoughts?
It's complex, but it's a simple matter. Do I think the guards could get more involved in the offense? Absolutely. What's going on? Almighty, by the way. Do I think he get more involved on offense with the guards and the alley-oops and all that shit? Sure. But we said this prior to the draft, and it is a knock against Mitch. It's not like I hate him as a player, but he is a very limited offensive ceiling. He's still struggling to shoot from the free throw line. He's shooting still under 50%. He's not developed a jump shot where he could shoot from the mid-range, very short range or whatever. He doesn't have a layup package, whatever, 3-point lands. I'm glad he came out and admitted, sorry, I should have handled this differently. But overall, like, I'm not surprised he did this because he's done this times before, Donald. If you've read between the lines, he's done this where he's posted his frustrations on social media. Some people say you should forgive him. This is what people do, but you don't want these negative kind of signs or negative posts after a team victory. I'm not calling him selfish, but you can't just do that.
Well, my biggest problem with it was the fact that he didn't address anything behind closed doors.
That's true.
That's how you should be addressing your role. Also, like, listen, we'll obviously get into the fact that he apologized, right? And that definitely has merit. But also, there isn't much accountability there. And, like, there is issues in his game which prevent him from being a force on offense. He can't shoot free throws. He's below average, right? He has zero game outside a foot from the basket. He doesn't have a game outside a foot from the basket offensively. He doesn't handle the ball. He can't pass the ball. He can't shoot a jumper. He has no offensive game whatsoever. Nothing. He doesn't have a sky hook, a post-up game, none of it. It's just lobs, right? And dunks and putbacks, right? And that has its place and is important, and we've made use of it. But how exactly much can we do? Also, he's not great at screen and rolls. Like, he
That's
doesn't
true.
set the best screens of, and I kind of like Hartenstein more offensively than him because he has a little bit more to his game, and it's not just about the fact that he can offensive rebound and stuff. He sets screens, pick and rolls. He's constantly moving off ball, handles well, passes well, these kind of things. Now, I'm not saying that Hartenstein is better than Mitch Robinson. I'm just saying that offensively, I like his game a little bit better. Like, it's a little bit
I
more
understand.
versatile.
I agree.
And also, Hartenstein never complains about his role. He shuts up and gets on with it. I don't like Mitchell Robinson, and this is not the only time Mitchell Robinson has complained about his lack of touches.
Yep.
He said this before. I'm sure it was a couple months ago that he was complaining that he was just doing cardio out there and just give me some offensive plays and stuff. But I mean, he must be freaking Michael Jordan in practice, because I don't know what he seems to think that he has, because he's never once shown it in a game. But what he is a phenomenal defender. Phenomenal defender. He organizes the defense. Incredible shot blocker. 99 percentile shot blocking. Offensive rebound, 99 percentile. He's phenomenal at all that stuff. His defensive rebound's improving. He organizes everything on defense. His defensive IQ is awesome. So this is not a criticism on Mitch Robinson. I'm just saying that if Mitchell Robinson is more accountable, then he would just be focused on doing his job and being happy with his role, because this is his role, and just perfect that role, because that's what we need you to do. Just go and do it. And we're winning. We're winning. When he plays his role to the best of his ability, more times than not, we win the game. And that has a lot to do with him doing his role well. So why do we need him to complain? I didn't like it. At the end of the day, he played kind of badly the last couple of games. He played like shit. Hartenstein far outplayed him. Mitch still gets in foul trouble. Hartenstein just kind of fought, and again, I like Hartenstein's attitude a little bit more.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. But as I say, his apology holds merit, and if he has stuff going on, I really hope that it all goes well, man. His family stuff is, it's a reminder that ball players are human, and they've all got lives out off the court, off the field, and this is another reminder of that. I hope his mental health is fine and everything's fine, and I wish him well, because we need him to be who he is. But yeah, I really don't like him criticizing the coach, criticizing his usage, criticizing anything else other than the fact that what he should be doing is being more accountable to himself, and instead of venting on social media, which is this kind of modern ball player thing that I don't like. Of course. Go off and speak to the head coach and get it sorted behind closed doors. It was a philosophy that Tom Coughlin subscribed to, and it's very much a philosophy that I subscribe to.
Yeah, man, it's open communication. It's general open communication. Like, fans can read through the subliminal messages you're putting out in Snapchat. It's obvious. It's just not the right idea. As you said, after a win, you speak to. If you're unsatisfied, you speak to the coach. And if he tells you, could use. I know there's only so much a player can do about it, but you know what? You speak to the coach. And if he hears you, he hears you. He could say, you know what do you want to improve on? He could either be open or he could be close to it. But you make that decision, you make the decision to talk to him otherwise because you want to get off your chest. And eventually, if the player, who disgruntled player, is still unsatisfied, and it gets to a certain point. Everybody has their boiling point where he could just blow up in practice. But again, it's the reason like I put a little more emphasis on this is because this isn't the first time he's done this. B, I'm not a everything stats guy, but I'm like, you got to have this self-awareness where like, okay, I'm one of the worst free throw shooters in basketball. I don't have a jump shot except in the gym in the summertime. Let me improve my game. Let me work out with my teammates. Let me talk to my coaches. What can I do better? Let me continue making those shots at the free throw line. Let me continue, maybe try practicing some short jumpers in the mid-range, whatever. Because the best centers in the game have a huge offensive game. Jokic obviously could shoot from outside. So can Embiid. So can Karl Anthony.
Gobert doesn't have a game at all.
No, I didn't say Gobert. I said Jokic. I said Towns. Yeah. Towns when he was a center, Embiid and Jokic. You got other guys. Bam Adebayo has a mid-range jumper.
Mm-hmm.
And he could occasionally shoot from three. But overall, I just hope he improves his game. Like, this is what we talked about. Some people were like, you want to keep Mitch this offseason. And I was like, I'm not closing the door on the idea of like a guy like Jalen Duren, whose offensive game might be better. So, again, not to put huge emphasis on this. We already acknowledged he apologized, but just don't do this going forward.
Do you think he seeks a trade?
I don't think his anger's at that point yet, in my opinion.
I'm not sure, man. He might want to go where he'd get an expanded role. I wouldn't be surprised if in the offseason he asked for a trade. I'm not sure how happy he is in the current situation. Reading between the lines, he's clearly not happy with something. And, I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, family stuff going on, all that stuff, but to start ranting about your usage after a win, I think it goes a little deeper than that. I don't know how necessarily happy he is. I hope that's not the case. But to your point, here's how he can improve his game without having a sky hook, without having a jumper, a mid-range, anything like that. Become better at setting hard screens.
Exactly.
Become better at handling the ball and passing the ball. Your vision, quickly moving the ball, would open up the space on the court massively. So just improve in those areas of the game, and you would see a far better player, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Like sometimes when like Brunson or Quickly would give him the ball in the post, he has trouble posting up. He has all the strength in the world, and the players just go for the ball and they lose, and he loses the ball and it gets stolen. So he doesn't have the greatest of handles, as you said. We see those occasional plays where they inbound it to him, he waits, and then he drives to the basket. Like, you want to see that more often, obviously, give him the ball more, but he has to do his own individual improvements.
And he can't handle like hard passes.
No,
it goes right through his hands. He's only good with lobs, quite honestly.
And also those passes in the dunker spot when he makes it, when the guard makes the defender miss, he's in the dunker spot, he goes up for the dunk. So yeah, we're not trying to dwell on this, but we just hope his like off the field attitude changes in the future. Donald already mentioned it. We know players are humans at the end of the day. They have their own issues at home, sometimes, but I'm like, it's not good for optics' sake just to post your frustrations after a win, especially a big victory. You came down from 16 points.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, who cares how many points how many minutes you play, as long as you win. That's that's the attitude that every other Knick has in this organization this year. D Rose hasn't played a single minute. He's not complaining. Same with Evan Fournier. He's had an established career to this point. He's not complained about his lack of minutes. He just gets on with it. And it goes right through the whole organization. Jalen Brunson says he doesn't care if he scores 40 or 4 points as long as they win. So why is Mitchell Robinson complaining after a win? It's a bad sign. I don't like it.
It's
I'm
just
just
bad
being
optics.
honest, being truthful.
No, you're right. You are absolutely right. I'm as I said, I'm not a major stats guy, but to show his lack of impact on the game on against the Blazers, 1 of 2 from the field, 0 of 2 from the free throw line, 2 points and 4 rebounds.
Yeah, I think the Knicks were a plus 20 with him off the court.
Exactly, with Hartenstein on the court.
Yep.
So
It was
that
with
tells you
Hartenstein.
everything. That tells you literally everything. Again, this is not a rant Mitch session, but it's just true. You know what? So I think we can move on from this Mitch segment. I think we're going to go to our player awards. So, who is your MVP of the week?
Couple candidates. Josh Hart is just becoming almost a weekly candidate at this point.
Yes.
I think he deserves a mention. I think he's in the running. I think you could put Deuce McBride as the low-key MVP. I'm giving him the low-key MVP. I think Isaiah Hartenstein, you could give the MVP award. Possible. And what'd you think, Emmanuel Quickly?
Quickly in some spurts, but I thought he played well, but not MVP well.
Okay.
So to me, it's right now between honestly Isaiah Hartenstein and Deuce McBride. Deuce McBride played
Deuce
well.
McBride? You want to give him the MVP?
I'm debating between him and Hartenstein. Obviously, I'm not looking at stats for everything, but McBride was a plus 17 against the Blazers. Hartenstein was a plus 20. He had 4. Wow, I didn't even realize this. 4 assists and 11 rebounds, but no points. Again, that's one of those players that you don't have to look at the scoreboard to evaluate.
And don't forget, though, Josh Hart against the Kings, didn't he have like 600 offensive rebounds?
He had 15 rebounds.
It was crazy. It was crazy. So, like, over the course of the West Coast trip, he was the only one that really just balled out.
He was consistent. He was very consistent.
Every game.
I think I'm going to give it to Hart.
That's why I'm edging towards him and giving either Deuce or Isaiah Hartenstein the low-key MVP.
There we go.
All right, Josh Hart gets MVP.
So with that, the underrated MVP of the week, I think I'm going to go Deuce McBride because of his last 2 games. His offensive game is really, came out. His 3-point shooting has been a major plus on the defensive side of the basketball. Deuce McBride's going to be my underrated MVP. What do you say, Donald?
Mine is Isaiah Hartenstein.
I'm not saying that's a bad idea.
Because he carried the load because Mitch is basically wasn't a factor in the West Coast trip, and Hartenstein was. So that makes me edge toward him. Let's pass it to who's in the chat.
That's true. Let them decide. Chat, is it as the underrated MVP of the week? Is it Isaiah Hartenstein or is it Deuce McBride? Well, obviously, give you some time for that. And meanwhile, I'm going to look over the rest of the Knicks schedule. We have 11 games left. So obviously, we have tomorrow afternoon. It's an afternoon matinee versus the Denver Nuggets. Then we have the Timberwolves at home. Then it's 2 games in Florida. You got the Miami Heat on Wednesday and the Orlando Magic on Thursday. It's a little back-to-back. Mm-hmm. That Monday, it is the Houston Rockets at home, Miami Heat at home. And then it's a little split between some away games and home games. March 31st on Friday is against Cleveland on the road. April 2nd on that Sunday is a home game against Washington. Then 2 road games in a row versus Indiana and New Orleans. And then we finish off Sunday, April 9th against Indiana. So
April 9th. Dude, that's really soon.
That is. I was so surprised, and I'm just wondering when the Knicks will clinch because they're not going to clinch in the last game of the year. They're going to clinch sometime before that. So I'm thinking it's like the latter end of March, early April, because I know the Bucks clinched the playoff spot. I don't think anybody else in the Eastern Conference has. So obviously that's telling. And did you see the report today that according to somebody in the Cavs organization from the inside, they want to face the Nets in the first round.
The Cavs want to face the Nets.
Yes.
They don't want to face the Knicks.
That is correct.
I can't blame them. I don't think many teams want to face the Knicks. I think the Knicks are going to give any team a hard time. I'm not saying they're going to win the first round, but
I agree.
I think that they'd give them a nightmare game.
I see personally a Cavs series going 6 games, winning 2.
Yeah.
They could win.
To be honest, I think the Celtics,
yeah, they've been.
I think we match up pretty well with them.
Sixers, I could somewhat say that we take a load of the games, but the Bucks, the one team I don't want to face in the playoffs is Milwaukee. They're going to shred us like cheese.
Yeah, because it's just how dominant they are with their big men, and that's the difference. I think it's the same with the Sixers. The Celtics, we kind of match up pretty well because I like our point guard matchup, and I like our bigs matchup against theirs. I don't like it against the Bucks or the Sixers.
Because
Cleveland, I do like our matchup with Cleveland.
Yeah, obviously the Bucks have bigs that can shoot. Bobby Portis being one of them. Brooke Lopez, potential candidate for defensive player of the year.
Mitch can't do anything with Giannis or Brooke Lopez. And neither can Randall. None of them can get anywhere near them. So, yeah, that's not a good matchup for us. I don't like the Sixers matchup either with Embiid and Harden's playing at a different level right now at point guard. Okay, let's circle back. What do you think? Should we give it to Deuce McBride then? Low-key MVP?
Yes, I'm going to put it up right now. Underrated MVP of the week. We're going to give it to Miles Deuce McBride.
Congratulations, Miles.
Congratulations, sir. I hope that your offensive play continues to improve going forward, and hopefully McBride has a future role in this team going into the playoffs. Obviously, we'll see. I think it's going to be situational, but let me see if there are any other words. LVP. I'm sorry, LVP, least valuable player.
I hate to say it, but would you say Julius Randle because of his meltdown?
I'm actually not going to say that.
Okay. That's good.
Randle had the meltdown on Saturday, but I thought he played okay over the last 2 games. Not exactly great. I thought some of the, I mentioned early on in the Portland game, there was offense way too much catered to him, and instead of spreading the ball around, it was pretty much the first 4 shots were Randall 3 Randall threes and a mid-range jumper that was completely bad to take. The shot selection was bad at first, but once things got organized, I thought he played better. So the Clippers game to me is an outlier. I think I'm going to give it to Mitch because he was kind of outplayed. Well, he wasn't kind of outplayed. He was outplayed by Isaiah.
No, he looked kind of disinterested.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that.
I think you're right because, as I say, I'm never going to blame Randall at all this year. I'm never going to criticize him at all this year. What he's doing this year is ridiculous. Crazy year. Unbelievable year. And he is a big reason for why we are where we are. So it's just I didn't like the meltdown and squaring up to the coaches and all that stuff. I mean, that's kind of bad Randall that you don't want. But
that's last year's Randall, but he's under control. Nothing else has happened. And as far as I know, the Knicks fan base and us have moved on from that. So to me, it's nothing. What he did.
And he plays every single game. He handles an incredible workload. He never asks for a day off or a minute off. So, yeah, you give him that break. Hey, Greg and John. Thank you so much for joining, man.
To Greg and John. So, honestly, Donald, I know we usually like to distribute this award. I don't really have a play of the week this week.
Yeah.
It's hard. There's no true play of the week that you could say, "Oh wow, this was certainly amazing." Apart from the other weeks, it was just normal basketball. It was nothing spectacular, which is quite interesting, honestly.
I know it was rare. There was no massive moments, but it was change of momentum,
right?
but nothing mind-blowing.
Absolutely. So, again, at least we're playing well. So tomorrow, I haven't seen any reports if the starters are going to sit for the Broncos. I'm not sorry, the Broncos, the Nuggets. The Nuggets are going to be a tough matchup for us, Donald. 47-23. They lead the Western Conference. They recently just beat up on the Detroit Pistons. Nikola Jokic, I think, nearly had a triple-double. Jamal Murray's been playing very well. They're the second best three-point shooting team in all of the NBA at 38%, nearly 39%. They are the fifth best when it comes to giving up the three-point ball. Obviously, you got some really good perimeter defenders in Aaron Gordon and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, along with Michael Porter Jr. Obviously, they don't defend the paint well. Nikola Jokic is one of the best big men in the league, but he is not very mobile. They allowed 52.9 points per game in the paint, which ranks 24th. Wow. So I think that is a weakness that the Knicks can potentially expose on offense. Defensively, net rating, they rank 16th. They're fourth in net rating. They are 13th in opposing points per game. They're 19th in pace. Turnovers, they're 20th, but they really move the ball well. They are second in assists. So if I have to offer my keys to the game, obviously want to keep Nikola Jokic in a minimum. That little battle between Jokic and Robinson is going to be big, especially when especially sometimes when Mitch does not handle the pick and pops well. Jokic can shoot it from the outside. Jokic could bully you down the paint. Jokic could also pass. He's one of the smartest basketball players in the entire NBA. He can rebound. He's basically, and I thought about this, he's like the best version of a kind of jack of all trades. He could score. He could pass. He has good brains. He could rebound. I'm not saying he isn't a star, but it's like he could do a lot of things right. And if you can't just limit one part of his game.
So the Nuggets is an awful matchup for the Knicks. Just look at the versatility that they offer. Jokic is a walking triple-double. He's a threat anywhere on the court, and that doesn't match up too well with our defense, which is very much based around the paint. Randall obviously isn't the greatest defender in the world, and Mitchell Robinson, you don't really want him to be going anywhere else other than protecting the paint, so it's not a great matchup. Then you look at the other bigs that they can offer. You got Michael Porter, they got my man Gordon. Gordon's been great for them, so they have a lot of versatility. Murray is a monster off the dribble. So they've got such a good team. It's a tough matchup for us. As I say, teams that have versatile bigs that can create off the dribble, pass, score, rebound, do all manner of things. A bunch of them do. It's not a great matchup for us. And then with their range, it's a tough matchup. So yeah, this is going to be very difficult to pull anything out. But maybe if Brunson and Randall just cook and Josh Hart does his thing on D, and we'll see. But it's a tough matchup, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. As I said, definitely tough matchup. They have a ton of shooters out there. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope could shoot it like hell. Michael Porter Jr. can. Aaron Gordon can. Jokic can. It's like that is like the almost perfect offense in the NBA because everybody could shoot from three. It's like you could go all five out, and the Knicks would have no defense for it. Except the Knicks can't go all five out; they have to go 4 out, 1 in. But it's going to be.
Jokic's numbers have just been
insane,
ridiculous lately.
It's triple-double. Triple-double. It's almost a guarantee. He was off by a triple-double by 1 assist. He against the Pistons, obviously they're a very bad team, 30, 10, and 9. Jamal Murray, 19, 10, and 6. 10 assists, 6 rebounds. So they can, whatever load off of Jokic's passing or rebounding that he gives off, the other teammates take. So they're multifaceted. I like their coach and Mike Malone. The Knicks,
he's a good coach.
In terms of rankings, they are 13th in points per game, 5th in offensive rating, 14th in defense. They are one of the best, honestly, in defending the three-point ball. But as we said, the Nuggets are multifaceted. They can beat you in the paint. They can beat you from downtown. They can beat you with the passing and the ball movement. The Knicks are top 3 in offensive rebounds per game. Defensive rebounds are one of the best. So maybe another way the Knicks can hurt the Nuggets in this one. Obviously, the matchup does not favor the Knicks, is possibly the offensive rebounds. The Nuggets currently in rebounding, allowed offensive rebounds, 9.8 opposing offensive rebounds per game. They don't offer much on the glass. They're solid, but they're not great. The Knicks can really harm them, especially with the second unit of Josh Hart and Isaiah Hartenstein. So I'm looking for basically the paint-based matchups, so for which the Knicks can expose the Nuggets a little bit.
Quick look at Jokic's stats here. For the year, he's on 24.8 points per game, 11.9 rebounds, 9.9 assists, 63% from the field. In his last 10 games, he's averaging 25 points per game, 13.3 rebounds, 8.8 assists, a steal, 76% from free throw range, 40% from three, 64% from the field. That's just in his last 10 games. Coming off a 30.10 and 9 game against Detroit, 28.8 and 7 against Toronto, 35, 20 and 11 against Brooklyn, plus 2 blocks and 2 steals. Holy Jesus, 60% from the field, 35 points, 20 rebounds, 11 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals. Ridiculous. And then 37, 11, and 11, and 3 steals against San Antonio. Yeah, I mean, listen, he's having a wonderful year. A crazy year. Question to you: are the Nuggets going to go to the finals?
Personally, I don't think. I don't think they will. They always tend to flame out in the playoffs. Usually it's now they have an advanced supporting cast. They have some really of the best role players in all of the NBA. Obviously I mentioned KCP, Aaron Gordon, all those guys, but it's like some of those guys I have a feeling will not show up in the playoffs. Obviously Jokic is a different man in the playoffs. He tends to dominate, but the problem is, in my opinion, will those role players show up? I think Murray will show up in the playoffs. I know he performed really well a few years ago in the bubble. Obviously the bubble's very different from the playoffs now. But Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, and Nikola Jokic, I think, will do their thing in the playoffs, but I think they'll only go so far. It's going to depend on those key role players. As I said, they have some of the best role players in the NBA. Thomas Bryant's good off the bench, Bruce Brown as well, KCP, MPJ. Well, MPJ is more like an advanced role player, and Aaron Gordon. So we'll see.
I'm thinking with KD's injury. They've got a chance, a really good chance of making.
That's true. That's true. He did get injured in warmups, and he's been out since. Another thing with the Western Conference, the Memphis Grizzlies are in shambles. Ja Morant is suspended. Dylan Brooks is a douchebag. Desmond Bane's doing cheap shots now. Like that team has become so. That team is so young, but they're so hateable.
And also, like, do you know some of the measures they've taken where now when they go to Miami on road games, they've basically restricted themselves to leaving that night on a flight instead of staying overnight in Miami because they don't trust themselves to not go completely nuts in Miami. I mean, that's a horrible sign of what's going on in that organization. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
There's no discipline, I guess. I think I mean, I guess you could fault the coach for that. But again, these players are also adults, and they have to have some sort of control. So
yeah, it's just embarrassing, really. And like Morant's behavior is embarrassing.
They're like one of the worst cultures in sports. Obviously, you said the Suns, KD's injured. I don't think the Clippers or Warriors are getting in. So it's mostly the ringleaders probably are the Kings and the Nuggets. And then I'm not saying that because they're the two best teams in the Western Conference, but you got two really good offenses. Obviously, the defenses are okay at best. But I don't really see – there's no major contender in the Western Conference.
That's why I think at the moment Denver are the favorites because they're the most consistent. But we'll wait and see. But to close it off on back to the Knicks, I came across a very interesting stat.
Okay.
From Knicks Muse at Knicks Muse.
Okay.
No player in NBA history has ever scored 2,000 plus points, 800 plus rebounds, 300 plus assists, with more than 200 3-pointers in a single season. With 11 games left, Julius Randle is on course to do all of that. He's on 1,792 points, 732 rebounds, 294 assists, and he's already got 203 3-pointers. So basically, he needs to average 18.9 points per game and 6.2 rebounds over his last 11 games, and he will have broken a record that's never been done before.
All NBA. At least the second team. Because it's obviously better than his season 2 seasons ago.
Mm-hmm.
All NBA team. And if he's not, that's horrible. All NBA.
I think he could do it, man. He only needs 18 points per game, 6 rebounds. You can get 6 rebounds and a half easily, quarter. So
he's been unreal.
Yeah, I think he's going to get that. Health permitting, I think he'll easily break that record. So yeah, Jules has been awesome, man.
Yeah, he's been terrific. I think he'll be terrific tomorrow. Hopefully, I'm praying Jalen Brunson will come back, but I also pray that if Jalen Brunson comes back, he's healthy, and you don't want to see him lingering on that leg or the ankle in general. So we'll obviously keep an eye on that. But Don, what are your keys to the game tomorrow?
Well, the key to the game is Jalen Brunson. That's the key to the game.
Yep.
But no, what we really need is Mitch Robinson really needs to be better. He can't get in foul trouble. If Jokic gets him in foul trouble with 2 or 3 early fouls in the first quarter, we're in a lot of trouble. Mitch needs to keep Jokic in front of him, and that's going to be a task. But if he can match up with him, and don't allow Jokic just to go off, you'll always get his. But as long as it doesn't really get past, like, say, 25 points per game, 25 points in that game, and he's having to defer more, then I like our chances. Just don't let Jokic beat you. And Mitchell Robinson has a lot of responsibility there. The next thing is we need Brunson to be healthy. But as I say, I don't want to rush him back because that foot injury is such a thing where, be patient.
It could linger.
Yeah.
Seriously could linger. My keys to the game, obviously, you want to not completely neutralize, but you're going to have to slow down Jokic to an extent. Defend the 3-point ball really well. They're the second best shooting team, as I said, in the NBA from 3-point land. Also, just let the quicker guards like the R.J. Barretts, I know he's not quick, but R.J. Barrett, Jalen Brunson, Quentin Grimes, all those guys, let them feast in the paint because Jokic is probably one of the least mobile centers out there. He's a big man, but he's not the most mobile defensively. He's not like an MB where he could just hook onto you. So I think that is a huge weakness that the Knicks can definitely.
He's also not a rim protector. He doesn't protect the rim.
No, not at all. And another thing, the Knicks need to attack the offensive glass, as Donald mentioned. Mitchell Robinson is going to be very key. He cannot be in foul trouble. He has to be on the glass. He has to play discipline. He has to play defense. And as I said, and I'm going to say this, Josh Hart is still going to be key to this team. So that's where it is with the Denver game. Donald, we got to do our score predictions. We are, based on last week's game, we are at 3 points apiece.
Okay.
So who do you predict to win tomorrow?
I'm going Denver.
Okay.
And I am going $105, $101.
Okay, a little low scoring. I'm going to ride the same Denver train. Obviously, it's not a great matchup for the Knicks. One of the best offenses in the NBA. Obviously, they really couldn't handle the Kings on Thursday of last week. I'm going to go 119-110. It's going to be a bit of a shootout, but I think the Knicks get a little tired. So, again, we're at 3 points apiece with this little matchup we have. Obviously, how we do the system is we pick the opponent and we pick the score. Whatever scores closest, we get a point. And if we pick the right opponent to win, we each get a point. So we are at 3 points apiece. Donald, man, final thoughts.
Yeah, let's go Knicks. I'm really excited for the week ahead. I think we really needed this week. And my final thoughts are, let's just get Brunson healthy, man, because he is the heart and soul of this first unit. He makes us tick, and we've really missed him. It's tough to watch the Knicks right now without him. I have to be honest.
It is
very difficult to watch. I really miss his creativity off the dribble. It's been tough to watch without him. So we desperately miss him. So come back.
Yes, please, Jalen Brunson, come back. Let's also get this victory. Well, I'm obviously hoping for the victory tomorrow. Very big matchup. I'm gonna say this from from here on out till the season ends. Let's close this season strong. By the way, I'm just gonna point this out now, Donald. Where do you think we finish at record-wise? We are 11 games away from the end of the season. We are currently 41-30.
I need to look at the schedule.
I'll give you some time.
Fool.
All right. So, as I said, 41-30 with about 11 games to go.
Nuggets number 1, 6, 8, 7, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 4, 2, 1, 3, 5, 3, 5, 4. I'd say 7-4. Give me 7-4 record.
All right, you're saying 48-34. 48-34. That is Donald's prediction. I'm actually going to take that down real quick. I'm going to type that in.
Okay.
48-34. I think we finish off 46-36. I think we'll be fine by the season ends. And I think that's going to wrap it up for episode 10 of the Friday Night Knicks podcast. Guys, obviously like, comment, subscribe, do all the good stuff. I'm sure Alex will have a video sometime soon this weekend. Maybe it's about free agency, maybe or whatever. Monday, Boys in the Big Apple. Then it's pretty much from there. Alex, I'm sure, will have some videos out. It's all obviously NFL free agency. Thursday, Dead Red podcast. I think Alex is going to be doing his AL East, roundtable this week. So it should be definitely fun. We're also getting closer to baseball season, so you will see more baseball content coming from Alex. We'll obviously keep it here with the Friday Night Knicks podcast because the Knicks keep winning and the Knicks are playing, obviously. And it's basically road to the playoffs for us. And that pretty much covers that. Just keep the support up, guys. We love you. We're obviously above 1K subscribers, and we will see you all later. Good night, all.